If you ever wondered whether overnight proofing is better than room temperature proofing, today we're finding out. Today I'm baking classic tartine sourdough recipe and I'm comparing two methods side by side. I want to show you how each proof affects the dough, the schedule, and of course the final bread, so you can decide which method works best for you. Let's bake together. Let's check on my starter first. As you can see, it's really bubbly and active. I mixed it last night and left it to ferment overnight on the counter. All measurements are in description. This dough starts with Autolyse, so at this stage there's no starter yet, just flour and water. And I start with 2 minutes at 20% speed, just enough to combine the flour and water until there's no dry spots left. After a 20-minute rest, I add the starter and mix it at 35% speed. I mix the starter in first, then add the salt and the remaining water. That takes about 2 minutes. And I like this method because it gives me a very smooth mix. I'm following the Tartine method here, but I'm also showing you my actual timing and temperature so you can adjust it for your own kitchen. Once everything is well combined, I increase the speed to 55% and set the timer for 4 minutes. But I don't rely only on a timer. I watch the dough closely, so when it starts to come together, tighten up and make that cracking sound, I know it's done. For this dough, it took about 3 minutes to fully develop, and I'm going to check the windowpane test so you can see exactly what the dough looks like at this stage. If you're using KitchenAid, mix on low speed until the dough comes together. Then build strength during bulk with a few stretch and folds. You still want the dough to pass the windowpane test before bulk is finished. If you're mixing by hand, follow the same Autolyse method and build strength with stretch and folds. I also have a separate video showing that process in more detail. Next, I put the dough into an oiled container for a bulk fermentation. My dough is about 80 Fahrenheit or 27 Celsius, so for me, the bulk will take about 4 hours. During the first 2 hours, I will do 2 folds. While the dough is resting, I refresh the leftover starter. I leave a little bit in a jar, then I add about twice as much water and flour by eye. I'm just looking for a thick batter consistency without worrying about hydration. I let it sit on the counter until it starts bubbling and then move it into a fridge until my next bake. Let's check on the dough after 1 hour of rest. Because my dough has a good sign of fermentation going on, I will do a gentle coil foil to preserve its build structure. I'm leaving it to rest for additional hour. For the second fold, I'm gently feeling the top of the dough first, so I can check how puffy and sticky it is. That also helps me to remember what it felt like, so if the bake turns out great, I can try repeat the same feel next time. I keep this part uncut for you so you can see the real process. I let the dough stretch by hands, but I don't pull it hard. I let the dough and the gravity to do the work. Then it goes back into a ferment for about 2 more hours at 80 Fahrenheit or 27 Celsius. Before shaping, I want to show you my new proofing baskets. These are from Broad & Taylor 10-inch Batard baskets, and I scaled this recipe specifically to fit them. Now I'm looking at the dough and checking if it's ready to divide and shape. At this point, I can see the bubbles on top and they're much more pronounced than during the folds. The dough also feels much softer and lighter, and I also see about 30% increase in volume, plus more bubbles along the sides of the container. At the pre-shape stage, this dough is still pretty sticky, since it's on a higher hydration dough. So I flour the container and the table and use a scraper to help release the dough from the sides so it comes out more easily. I'm dividing this dough into 2 equal pieces and pre-shaping each one into a round. At this stage, I try to touch the dough only where it's floured so it doesn't stick to my hands. Then I let it rest for about 15 to 20 minutes before I move into final shaping. Dusting my bannetons and let's shape. I try to even out my piece of dough, and then since it's a batard shape, I first fold one side over, then the other side over, and then I start building tension. I flip it seam side up and gently roll towards me to tighten the shape. After that, I pinch the sides and seams to make sure everything is sealed and the dough is ready for Benetton. For our test, one loaf goes straight to the fridge and the second one stays on the counter at about 79 Fahrenheit to ferment for about 2 hours. Let's check on the loaf. It looks nicely risen, and when I press on it, it bounces back slowly. The mark is filling in slowly too, so it's ready to bake. My oven is preheated to 500 Fahrenheit or 260 Celsius. And one note I want to add here. Since this loaf is very soft, I score it at an angle, but not too deep, so it doesn't spread out in the oven, but instead rises up. Once the baker in the oven, I lower the temperature to 465 Fahrenheit or 240 Celsius. Then I bake it covered for 25 minutes and uncover it for rest of the time. The next morning, I am baking my second loaf. It spent 16 hours in the fridge. As you can see, it hasn't risen much in the volume. Let's bake it and see how it turns out. I baked this loaf the same way, but the only difference is that I scored it a little deeper to give it more room for oven spring. This is my fresh baked overnight proofed loaf. And this is the room temperature loaf we baked yesterday. Both had great oven spring and rose beautifully in the oven. Let's take a look closer at the results. Now let's cut into both loaves and see what's inside. I am slicing the overnight loaf first, and the crumb looks amazing. It has a very nice, very open, wild structure with the big holes, almost like the pictures you see in bread books. Now, here's the room temperature loaf. It has a very similar wild crumb with the big holes and the same nice bounce when I press it gently. Side by side, they look very close. Both are beautiful loaves. When it comes to the taste, the overnight loaf has a little more tang, but honestly, the difference is not huge. For me, the method that fits your schedule is the one that wins. In this video, I wanted to give you a clear, step-by-step guide with exact timing and temperatures, so you can get the results too. Bread is always about learning to read the dough, how it looks, how it feels, and how it behaves. I also would love to hear from you, because this is such a popular recipe. Have you tried it already? What did you do differently? I'm really curious to hear how you baked this bread. I hope you enjoyed this video and this brought value to your kitchen. I'll see you in the next bakes. Happy baking!